Yeah, good afternoon to all of you, and very warm welcome to this 18th in the series webinar on a very important topic today, which is the climate change issues and mitigation strategies. And friends, very happy Dashera to all of you. This festival of victory of good over evil spirits, and uh, it actually signifies India is progressing, that we are working even on a holiday as such. And uh, friends, this topic that we are discussing today, this is being presented, as you know, by International Human Resource Development Initiative, which is a initiative of like-minded friends for the capacity utilization and capacity building of human resources throughout the country and even outside also. So friends, while this topic is very important as such as of now, I am remembering and I am sharing with you this newspaper cutting on the first page. This is Saturday, October 24th, wherein in one of his presidential debate, the President Trump of United States of America has talked about filthy air of India, China, and even Russia. So this has brought about a lot of emphasis on the air pollution that the country is producing as such. Uh, like any kind of remarks that has been made, there are some positives also, and there are people who contradict also. So some of the people, they have talked about that when the President Trump is a friend of India, why he has brought about India's name. But others who are speaking, they say that it is very true. The fact is that out of the total 30 cities, uh, the top polluting 30 cities as such in the world, 21 belong to India. So it's a big misnomer. It's a big blot on our aspect. The second thing, and this all happened during the last 1 week. The second thing was the report by World Health Organization, which said that around 6.5 million people throughout the world, they die because of certain health hazards caused by air pollution. And out of this 6.5 million people, 50% come from India and China. And if I give you the figures, around 6.5 million, 65 lakhs. So out of 65 lakhs, 16 millions plus is contributed by India, and 18 millions is contributed by the China as such. So these were the two, very important topics which came around, and which are now moving during the last 1 week itself, and which signifies how bad we are in terms of the air pollution. We have not followed certain things as such. So when we are talking about climate change, see, two things are there. Basically, it is about global warming, and because of the greenhouse gases emissions, and especially by the human interventions because of fossil fuels and all, and then a large scale shift in the weather patterns because of these greenhouse gases. And as you know that the certain amount of greenhouse gases is very important, and rather they are responsible for the survival of humankind on this earth, because the some kind of heat is maintained and some kind of heat is retained by the earth, and it is actually helpful for the humankind and for the existence of various flora and fauna. But overall, when the because of the fossil fuel increase and because of the air pollution, this greenhouses gases has increased to that extent that today carbon dioxide and methane have increased to that extent that the entire globe is now, the temperature is rising. And because of this, and especially fossil fuels, coal, petrol, diesel, and natural gases, they are the culprits. And because of this aspect, the position has become so intense and so bad that the entire humankind is now being compromised because of this aspect. And the negative aspects, which generally while we are talking, and people who are not from environmental sciences are also joining us. Overall, you see, the impact that has come up generally is that in winters you will find no winters. In summers you will find rainy, you will find rains. In rains you will find cold. and in cold times you will find it is warmer out there. So the entire temperature as such, or the weather position, which is given by the nature, and nature is very disciplined. Nature knows when the sun comes out, nature knows when it will set, but the human interventions overall has actually affected the things to such a pass that the entire balance of nature has been impacted because of this. So the increase in ocean temperature has taken place. The levels of ocean has gone high, and even they say that if the temperature further increased by 1.52 degrees more, the certain islands, and I think more than 100 islands which are nearby to the sea, they will be submerged out there. Glaciers are melting. The entire flora, fauna, which is therein, and it is becoming extinct every day. There's a lot of desertification of the entire soil, and you find intense storms, you find extreme weather conditions because of this aspects itself, and the ocean productivity has also reduced. You will find that the fish stocks which were earlier coming are now reduced to that extent. Overall, a very, very bad impact on the total biodiversity because of the climate change as such. And friends, this has been taken note of by the international community or committee, and wherein you had the United Nations Earth Summit coming up in the year 1992, wherein they came up with the United Nations framework convention on climate change, wherein they said that we'll have to address this problem, and this was ratified by more than 197 countries thereafter. So 1992 is a major year, and in this Earth Summit. This was followed by Kyoto Protocol in the year 1995, which actually gave teeth to this, and then it said that this was, a legal binding, especially on the developed world, to reduce their emissions level as such. 2015, the Paris Agreement, which is now being followed, became a landmark, wherein it was said that the global temperature should be increased not more than 2 degrees centigrade. So meaning thereby, and then ideally it should not increase more than 1.5 degrees centigrade, because as I said, because if it is increased more than 2 degrees, then your glaciers will be melting more, your ocean level water will increase, and then submergence of certain even land masses into the water masses will take place. And lastly, in the year 2019, the Climate Action Summit took place, wherein all the stakeholders, including the government, the private sector, and the NGOs, they came on the podium together. They were all on the board, and they said that a combined effort is required to come out with all this climate problems which are coming up. And then they noted that areas they should focus on, it's the heavy industries, the certain sustainable cities need to be built up, and energy resilience need to be done. And they said that there should be a principle of the polluter pays. So the finance was linked to the pollution aspect, and we know that the finance makes the mayor go round, and they thought that it will be useful for this. And to further address and to give more impetus to this, Mr. Al Gore, who was the vice president of America during President Bill Clinton's time, he was given the Nobel Peace Prize also for his efforts on increasing the awareness about climate change as such. So friends, these are the various efforts being undertaken as such. And today, to discuss all these issues which I have just started, all these issues and further more issues, in the sense that what is actually climate change, what are the issues involved into this, what are the mitigation strategies, what are the adaptation strategies, and further, what can be done in terms of, bringing about clean energy, green energy, and what has been done by the Himachal government, which is a hill state, and one of the greatest carbon sinks it provides because of the forest and aspect. What has been done by ecotourism. So we have three very eminent panelists, friends, today, Mr. Saurabh Gupta, Dr. Geetaram Saibi, and Dr. Abdul Qayyum, who join us for this discussions and deliberations. Just to introduce Mr. Saurabh Gupta, he is an IFS officer of 1996 batch. Presently, he is working as the Director Environment and Climate Change, Government of Punjab. He is also the Chief Conservator of Forests, Hills for the Government of Punjab. And as regards his qualification is concerned, he's an IITian from IIT Kanpur in the year 1994, chemical engineer. And thereafter, he completed his MSc in environmental science from UNESCO IHE Netherlands in the year 2011. And friends, prior to that, he's worked 2 years for Gas Authority of India Limited. Also, he's been into teaching as associate professor, Indira Gandhi National Academy for 5 years. And presently, he's also a state nodal officer for agroforestry, Green India Mission, and Green Punjab. So, sir, Ms. Gupta, warm welcome to you, and thank you for being a part of this panel. Dr. Geeta Ram Saibi, friends, he's IFS 1986 batch. He is retired as the additional principal chief conservator of forest, come chief executive officer, ecotourism and state publicity, the government of Himachal Pradesh, Shimla. Dr. Saab is a PhD in environment and ecology, and he has got an outstanding career in the field of forestry and World Bank. He initiated the NORAD project, and he has participated in a number of national, international conferences and seminars, and talked about extensively about the climate change issues. And as regards his personal interests is concerned, he is a poet also. He has published his own publications in terms of, and very well, I have gone through them, and he gifted me to, kind enough to gift me that book. And he's a trekker, he keeps himself fit, he's a researcher, and many a times I invite him on MGCPA panel also on various issues. So warm welcome to you, Dr. Saibi, and many thanks for accepting this invitation. Friends, third panelist of today is Dr. Abdul Qayyum. Dr. Qayyum is an IFS officer, and presently is a young IFS officer who's brought a lot of initiative, part of UT Chandigarh administration as Deputy Conservator of Forest, Chandigarh, and he is also a additional Director Science and Technology, UT Chandigarh. He has also completed his doctorate from IIT, and if I'm not wrong, IIT Delhi. Earlier from IIT Kanpur, and then a doctorate from IIT Delhi. So he's an avid researcher. He takes a lot of initiatives. He's with CREST also for the renewable energy sources of the UT of Chandigarh. So warm welcome, Dr. Abdul Qayyum, and very nice to see you with us. So friends, the panel is a very rich panel who has got a lot of experience in terms of their academic profiles also, and their job profiles also into the issues of forest, climate change, and all these issues which are now into the center stage, as I mentioned earlier also. So not taking long, firstly, the Saritium that will follow is that Mr. Saurabh Gupta will be the firstly speaking, and around 20 to 25 minutes for each of the panelists. Thereafter, Dr. Abdul Qayyum will talk about his experiences and what Chandigarh administration is doing. And subsequently, Dr. Saibi will talk about his experience as the Chief Executive Officer of ecotourism, and what the state of Himachal Pradesh is doing into this regard. So friends, not taking long, I now request Mr. Gupta to take over from here. Welcome, Saurabh, and the stage is all yours now.
Thank you, Professor Chaddha. First of all, heartiest wishes for the Dussehra festival to all the participants. And I would like to thank Professor Chaddha for organizing such events on weekends, which is basically, knowledgeable for all the general public per se. And also it gives a chance for us to, think about the core issues and core problems which the society and humanity is facing. I also welcome all the co-panelists, and Dr. Saibi, welcome, and Dr. Qayyum, welcome to the panel, and all the friends which are participating in the webinar. Very happy Dussehra to all of you. As Dr. Chaddha has already set the tone for the topic today, I would like to give a structured presentation, maybe around 15 minutes or so. But during the introductory remarks, as most of you might have heard, a common perception between air pollution and climate change, it's not very perceptibly discerned actually. Like these days, it's a season of stubble burning. Everywhere we talk about, there is lot of stubble burn in Haryana, Punjab, and Western UP, and lot of air is getting polluted in Delhi. People loosely talk about it as a issue of climate change, but as a as a scientist or as a the core problem identifier, you have to first we have to understand that what is air pollution and what is climate change. There is a subtle difference, because things, if not properly understood, can be put out of the context, and certain things which are required to solve the climate change issues are actually not being addressed that way. So without taking much time, I would like to share my thoughts in the form of presentation. Kindly give me some time to upload it. Is it visible, the presentation?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's visible.
So as I would like to go to basics. Actually, the very existence of this planet Earth, because we have a unique positioning in the whole universe, and we are having our life in on Earth sustained by three major cycles. That is nitrogen cycle, water cycle, and carbon cycle. So because of human and anthropogenic interventions, I would like to point out that all these three cycles are getting disturbed. Uh, Nitrogen cycle is a complex cycle, which is again a topic for some other day. Water cycle is also getting disturbed because of land use patterns, and particularly in the case of Punjab and Haryana, more than 60 to 70% of the underground water has turned into black zone. So this is again a story for some other day. But the main issue which is impacting the climate change is basically carbon cycle. When we talk about climate change, why do we talk about climate change? If we just say some random weather variations, like Dr. Chaddha was also mentioning in the initial remarks, see, getting a storm somewhere, hurricane somewhere, it's a stochastic variable in the nature, and it can occur at any point of time. But there are scientific evidences to show that carbon cycle of the Earth is getting disturbed, and that is actually leading to the climate change. What are the components of our this carbon cycle? Basically, its cycle has one component of emission, wherein carbon dioxide is emitted from terrestrial or marine ecosystem, and the second component is absorption of carbon in these two ecosystems. When the emission is more than absorption, it leads to accumulation of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, and which leads to global warming and climate change. This is what the theory is. And what is the total cause of net emissions? If this point was also raised by Dr. Chaddha, when emissions are always there, see, plants are also, humans are also exhaling carbon dioxide and other activities. This is a complex cycle. But when we burn fossil fuels, then we basically disturb the carbon cycle in a way, like fossil fuels are formed in the form of in a time scale of geological time scale. See, it takes lakhs of years and millions of years for plants or biomass to turn into hydrocarbon, and which is buried deep inside the crust. And in the pro-industrial era, when you can say after 150 years or so, basically we are mining all these hydrocarbons and releasing it in the air in the form of burning fossil fuels for the development process. So there is discernible increase of concentration of carbon dioxide, particularly in the atmosphere, which is causing a climate change. This is what the theory of climate change is propagated. And Similarly, for a layman, like for a person who is a common person, for him, even he can also think that stubble is being burned and carbon dioxide is being released in the atmosphere. So it must be also contributing to greenhouse gases. But there is a small difference here. That is why we need to understand these small differences. See, the stubble which is being burnt is basically the one which is sequestering carbon from the atmosphere. So paddy in the growth time, it is sequestering carbon from the atmosphere. But when it is harvested and it is burnt, it is releasing the same carbon into the atmosphere. So basically, there is no additional emission in the atmosphere. This is just a uh, uh, it is not net. It is not adding any emission to the greenhouse gases. So it is not causing global warming. So as we know that in US it is a hot issue because the US people, particularly led by the Trump administration, they don't want to commit to this climate change issue because it needs lot of cutting of emissions, and this would change their developmental strategies. So they are always trying to say that it's a hoax and climate change is not real. But the science over a period of time has gathered irrefutable data which points that there are certain things which are definitely changing in atmosphere and which might or might not lead to the climate change. Some of the examples I would like to share is that you can see this graph right from 1880 to 2020. The 5-year mean temperature of land and ocean surfaces steadily increasing. Similarly, this is the data of 10,000 years. So in 10,000 years, in business as usual, if the greenhouse gases are not curbed, the projected temperature rise in 2100 is going to be between 2.4 degrees to 6.4 degrees. And this is the data which basically seals the debate, because you can see that this is a data over a period of 4 lakh years. So during the last 4 lakh years, the carbon concentration in the atmosphere was oscillating between 180 to 300 ppm by volume. But once the industrialization era has started, it has jumped within 100 years, which is actually nothing compared to when you see the whole time span from 280 to 300 ppm within a very short time. Although the data of methane and nitrogen oxides are not available for a long time, but carbon dioxide data are available, and it is estimated that main culprit of greenhouse gases is basically carbon dioxide. You can see even forestry, if deforested, if forests are cut, they will also release carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. So you can see that after 2000, the emissions from the forestry land use is decreasing. It means the world has at least realized that forests are important. So either they have conservation efforts are increasing throughout the world, either they are planting more trees, or at least the existing rate of deforestation might have come down. This graph very succinctly shows you that the main contributor of greenhouse gases is CO2, and that too CO2 particularly from fossil fuels and industrial processes, and CO2 from land use. And then other contributors are methane and nitrogen oxides. And you can also see that in the last 3 decades, the trend rate was 1.3% per year, whereas after 2000, it has increased to 2.2% per year. And these are the 4 major sectors which are contributing to greenhouse gases contribution. Now, these are all data in the atmosphere wherein we can irrefutably say that carbon dioxide or greenhouse gas concentration are increasing in the atmosphere. But uh, uh, is it is it right to correlate this concentration to climate change? So for that, scientists have tried to also observe different kind of extreme weather events and try to correlate whether this increase in carbon dioxide concentration in atmosphere is anyway relevant to the extreme weather events that we are facing today. So this is very clearly, it shows that the temperatures are responsible for rising of sea level. We all have studied in newspapers and magazines that some of the low lying islands are likely to be submerged in the times to come because of rising sea level. The You can see all these random events like windstorms, there are increasing trends, floods, there is increasing trend, extreme heat events in Europe also. You can see in the past few years the extreme heat events have also increased, and similarly the drought events have also increased. So there is irrefutable evidence that this increase in carbon dioxide is causing the extreme weather events to increase. This is basically precursor to climate change. Basically, I am of the camp that whether climate change is real or not, we should take it very seriously, because in the whole universe, as we know of, the earth, the planet earth is the only living entity in the universe. So even if there is a 1% chance of this climate change happening and wiping out the life from the earth, then we have to take this threat very seriously. Now, how do we change if the climate change is real? How can we try to help the planet, and how do we try to reverse the climate change process? Basically, there are too many jargons floating around since the audience is general. So I would like to just simplify a few terms. The mitigation strategy means we try to reverse or stop net emissions of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. How do we stop the net emissions? Either we reduce the total emissions. How do we reduce the emissions? We reduce the consumption of fossil fuels, or alternatively, we try to promote such energy sources which do not use fossil fuels, such as solar, wind, and geothermal energy. And UT administration has done commendable work in solar energy. I think Dr. Payom is definitely going to throw some light on that. And the second part of the reversing is sequestering of carbon from the atmosphere. Now we know that on the earth we have only two type of ecosystems. One is terrestrial ecosystem, means ecosystems which are land based, and the marine ecosystem, because 3/4 of the earth is filled with the ocean water. So both terrestrial system and marine ecosystem are capable of sequestering this carbon. As far as man is concerned, it can make only intervention in the form of terrestrial ecosystem predominantly. So basically forestry and growing trees is the only way where you can do the absorption part of the carbon. And then there are terms used that also as the adaptation strategy. What is adaptation? Suppose the climate change does take place on the planet Earth, then due to that lot of things will change, and a lot of land use patterns will also change. Then how people will adapt to the new situation? So for that you have to prepare now. So this is called adaptation strategies. Climate change and development is at loggerhead, and because of this debate only we are talking so much. So there is a paradox between development, mitigation, and adaptation. As the development increases, basically the current model of development presupposes that GDP will increase. GDP is directly correlated to consumption of fossil fuels. So more the development, more the emissions, more the climate change. And development versus adaptation, if the climate change occurs, for adaptation you need to right now increase your capacity to adapt, means you need to be more developed. like for a layman's point of view, I can say like the developed world is more adapted right now to tackle the ill effects of climate change. So, but in the process, they are already developing so fast that they are contributing to emissions. So this is kind of a paradox for which we don't have easy answers. Now coming directly to the few parts of the state of Punjab, I would like to just give a little bit of brief about Punjab, and then I'll stop my presentation. See, we all know that Punjab is agricultural state, and here we have 84% of area under agriculture, whereas national average is only 42%. It contributes to 40% of wheat and 26% of rice to central pool, whereas you can see the area is hardly any area in context of the country. We are already experiencing the temperature increase of 0.75 degree on an average in the state, and it is envisaged that the temperature is going to further increase by 1 to 1.8 degrees by 2050. So which will reduce yield of productivity of wheat up to 23% and rice up to 10%. And of course, associated with that would be extreme events like flooding and droughts. So in order to counter climate change at state level, we have made a state action plan on climate change, and 8 missions were formed. We also formulated few projects for adaptation purpose, which are actually funded by Government of India in MOEF. And we also developed synergies and knowledge management and capacity building in the field of climate change. Now the highlights of strategies of Punjab, although there are 8 submissions, but for the sake of brevity, I have just clubbed it into 4 components, which are important from the point of view of climate change. Agriculture is the most important activity in the state. So interventions are crop diversification for mitigation as well as adaptation, stubble management, and development of new climate resilient crops. So we are also thinking about R&D. Punjab Agriculture University in coordination with other universities are trying to develop such crops. Conservation of water, because in case of climate change occurs, there would be extreme events, and water would be the main resource which would be hampering poor people. So a few policy level initiatives that have been taken in the state are rainwater harvesting has been made mandatory in all the buildings which are having 400 square yards and above area, and micro watershed level treatment is also being promoted in Shivalik Hills. And as we discussed, that forests are the only sinks of carbon, and they can help in reversing the climate change. We are taking large scale plantations in Kempa, and we are also promoting agroforestry at a very large scale. Agroforestry, we have initiated a very novel scheme in which we are giving survival based incentive to the farmers, and these benefits are being transferred to the farmers directly in their account through DBT, which is Aadhaar linked. So total transparency is being maintained, and this program has been very successful. This is a good strategy of cost effective incentive for planting trees in the agricultural landscape. And as a one unique initiative in the state also did a very brilliant project last year, wherein we planted 550 plants in each village in commemoration of Shri Guru Nanak Dev Ji's 550th birthday. And this program was very successful, and people from all across the state took part in this program willingly and enthusiastically. Similarly, we are trying to do the same program of 400 plants in each year, in each village this year, in memory of Guru Tegh Bahadur Singh. So basically, we can also see that mixing the religious sentiment with conservation-oriented strategies can also be a good strategy for the absorption. We also tried some Miyawaki forests. Miyawaki forests are basically very closely spaced trees, which is this kind of forest is basically very prevalent in Japan. And on a trial basis, we have done some Miyawaki forests. We have also involved NGOs, EcoSec, and the results of this trial are also very encouraging. And then there are certain other initiatives like green buildings and introduction to CNG, and we are trying to promote solar plants and other things. We also commissioned one world's largest rooftop solar plant of 19.5 megawatt at Byas, Amritsar. Now coming last slide and to the conclude whatever we have discussed so far. Climate change is a global issue caused by local actions, because if you see all the developed countries, per capita energy consumption of developed countries is much higher than developing countries. So local actions are causing global climate change. It's a debate between development and environment. I would like to give my thoughts on this. Greed versus asceticism. Because in Western society, you always strive for individual freedom and more production and more economic development. Whereas in India also, if you see our saints and even Gandhiji says, we have a ascetic life, kind of life and cultural values, then we can reduce it. Now, this is another debate. Act now to save planet versus it's a hoax, like President Trump says it's a hoax. But the main issue is it is economics versus environment, because the development is measured in terms of GDP and economics, and environmental values are difficult to quantify. So generally, it is not given that weightage. The bottom line I would like to conclude with these two statements is that we have only one known living planet, that is Earth. And if we lose it, the universe may be devoid of life. And to err on the side of prudence is better rather than not acting at all. So with these words, I would like to close my presentation. And if there are any questions towards the end of the webinar, or maybe whatever is the structure, I can take that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Saurav sir, for such a elucidating report and presentation on, in a very layman's language, what is climate change, how it is impacting, and especially the adaptation strategies and the mitigation strategies. And as you very rightly summed it up, that it is a debate between the development on one hand side and the environment on the other hand side. And rather, I think just to add upon its 80-20 rule, wherein the developed nations comprising the Western Europe and Northern America has cornered 80% of the resources and polluted their extent to the extent of 80%. And now they are, putting pressure on the developing world, which is more in numbers in terms of, coming out to that aspect. So thank you so much for this very wonderful presentation, Dr. Saab. Now I request Dr. Abdul Qayyum to take it forward from here in and share his experiences and what Chandigarh administration is doing in this regard and what needs to be done further. And then welcome, Dr. Abdul Qayyum. The floor is all yours now. Yeah, Dr. Qayyum,
you are muted. Please unmute.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Professor Chaddha. And it was lovely listening to Saurabh Gupta sir, where he initiated a beautiful debate. I'll say that's hoax versus reality. So I'll take my points from there only, and then I'll be highlighting what Chandigarh has done, especially from clean energy point of view, that is in solar field. So we claim that we are certainly among pioneers in the country, where a lot of solar projects have come up, and which are not only environmentally viable but financially viable also. It has a lot of financial benefits as well, while it has capacity to mitigate a lot of carbon offsetting potential it has got, but it is financially benefiting also, where I'll be presenting some success stories of certain schools and colleges where solar projects have been successfully done. So with this, I'll be starting with my presentation. So climate change mitigation strategy. So this is a very famous debate whether it is hoax versus reality. I'll say the answer lies with the fact that uh, just a second, I have not shared my presentation. All right. So is it visible? Chaddha, is it visible?
Yeah, Dr. Sir, it's coming. It's visible now. Yeah, it's on the screen.
All right. So the same debate, hoax versus reality. I'll say how we define certain thing is basically as per our convenience. For example, if I talk about developed countries, naturally they will say that this is a hoax, because if they accept this reality, they are going to have larger burden on them. We are pretty aware from a lot of researchers research outputs which has been done across the globe, that there is a huge, good number of evidence which says that there is something where there is a constant change in the present climate. And there are, in fact, Saurabh Gupta sir also highlighted one statistic where it was demonstrated over a good period of time, where there is a substantial rise in temperature, or the erratic weather, or other patterns are there. So all they are indicating that this is not hoax but a reality. But since it has got larger implication on certain set of countries, so largely developed countries. So this is the reason that in the recent conversation, American President Donald Trump, he said that this is probably not a reality, and they try to put blame on the developing countries like ours, where he said that air quality in country like ours is not so good. It's filthy. He used that word. So that's very unfortunate, and we are pretty aware that the energy consumption in developed countries is much higher than what we have in developing countries. So certainly it's a debate, but personally I feel that the answer lies in the convenience. So whatever suits me, I'll take that side. But the reality, that the fact remains the same, that is climate is certainly changing, and we need to act now. If not now, and he also very beautifully said that we have only one planet, so we have to protect it, and it's certainly a global event. But because of the local factors, because of anthropogenic factors, the climate is certainly changing, where we have enough evidence today, and it's high time to act upon it. So I'd like to just give one example in terms of wildfire. Forest fires are very frequent these days. We have also witnessed events when it happened in Australian fire or Amazon fire, or if I can quote the local example of Uttarakhand fire. So every year we are having large number of forest fires. Even in this also, there are group of people, scientists, they believe that this is not related to climate change. So I'll say this is another debate. So we believe that this is certainly because of climate change issues that we are witnessing larger number of forest fire incidences, and because of it, we are having huge loss to the humanity, be it in terms of rich biodiversity, flora or fauna, but are the human life and property. There's huge damages which are happening, and if actions are not taken on time, we are likely to face a much devastating thing in times to come. So this is certainly one alarming thing. We have also got a report related to rate of extinctions of species, which is constantly accelerating in nature. So a lot of species have met it's a very unfortunate fate. The species loss has become much more alarming, and this is certainly because of the factors which have got certain significant change. So erratic weather is obviously one example. We are not able to predict the pace of flood or fire, or maybe the weather. The winter and summers have got shifted. So lot of symptoms and features we have today, which certainly they indicate that climate change is a reality. We are also aware of this very pretty good event where Maldivian government, they held a water conference, and that was held underwater. So the countries which are at the sea shores, obviously they are under tremendous pressure, and the countries which are landlocked, they should not feel that they are not going to be impacted by climate change. But obviously this is a global event where every country is equally vulnerable, and they should act in that fashion to solve this problem in a holistic manner. And through forestry activities, this concept red and red plus is certainly not new. This was initiated way back. Now the Indian government is also very much serious. We have a lot of activities related to reduction of emission due to forest degradation, and we have taken a lot of initiative in that. Tampa plantations, which Saurabh Gupta sir was talking about, is a very normal today in across the all state government departments in forest. So a lot of plantations are coming up. But apart from plantation, there are certain other initiatives which I'll be talking about, and that is clean energy and renewable energy sector. So it's high time that we should start reducing the dependency over thermal based energy. So in case of Chandigarh, if I can highlight, at present we are having approximately 30% dependency on the fossil fuel, while the remaining 70% that comes through hydro and solar energy sector. And government of India has given a target to Chandigarh to become 100% renewable energy based consumer. So we are working in that scenario, and we are hoping that by 2025 we will become 100% RE based. Our consumption will become 100% renewable energy based. So with this, I'd like to start my today's discussion, where I'll be talking about what Chandigarh specifically have done in order to increase the solar base. And we have come up with certain innovative projects that I'll be highlighting, and how it is possible where we can gradually move from fossil fuel based to clean energy based, that is solar in Chandigarh. So Government of India has given a target to UT Chandigarh to be developed as model solar city. And with this, initial targets were given of only 10 megawatt. Now the government has revised this to 69 megawatt. That will be achieved by 2022. But our targets are little higher. We are aiming to have as solar as much as possible, so that we can become 100% renewable energy city. So Chandigarh is certainly one emerging solar city. If we compare across the other states and UTs in our country, we'll see that Chandigarh is pioneer in many initiatives. I'll be highlighting few. Be the innovations which are possible in terms of solar panel, or the technology as a whole. We have taken certain initiative in that also. So CREST is a nodal department under Ministry of New Renewable Energy, where with the government has given target to implement our solar project in UT Chandigarh through this agency called CREST. So there's a brief journey about CREST, which I feel I should ignore. So this was the target was revised 50 megawatt by 2020. Initially it was 50 megawatt, then it was revised to 69 megawatt by 2022. And accordingly, a lot of plants were modified in Chandigarh, and it was made compulsory to every rooftop with a given dimension. So if you have got a house of 1 canal and above, so you need to have solar. Solar is mandatory for that rooftop. So we are in process of implementing. This is some 1 year old data, but at present we have installed around 36 megawatt in different categories. So this data is a little old. At present, every possible school in Chandigarh, I mean, the amount of solar which we are producing is able to meet all energy requirements for all schools and colleges. In fact, we have done to almost all possible Chandigarh police stations also. But there are few stations where because of certain factor, we are not able to install solar on their rooftop. And we can say that all schools and hospital and police stations are thoroughly independent in Chandigarh. So data which you are seeing in form of table is little old. I could not update because of certain reason. So because of this, because of these initiatives, we are able to generate. We have generated so far around 80 million units of solar energy because the initiatives taken in Chandigarh, which is equivalent to, there is a formula that has been developed how these are related to the equivalence of saving of carbon, or the reduction in CO2 emission. So we have approximately reduced this much 56,000 metric ton of CO2, which is also equivalent to plantation of 5.8 million trees. So this is the contribution towards the mitigation, if I can say. So that because in a place like Chandigarh, it is landlocked. So the area whatever we have is almost fixed. So it is fixed basically. that you cannot go for plantation or any similar activity. So the clean energy or the solar is the only option if we wish to contribute towards a climate change. We have also prepared a lot of similar videos where we appeal to the public that let us act, let us become a climate smart citizen. So, and a lot of extensive activities we have done in order to popularize this scheme. And a government scheme is not going to succeed unless we have people participation. So to ensure people participation, we have taken a lot of initiatives, especially visiting to certain societies, conducting seminars and workshops, and making them aware that how much this climate change is going to be going to affect the future generation, and how we can contribute just by a small change and shift towards this solar energy. So these are certain projects which we have developed. This is our own office building, where the energy requirements are almost 50% is met through solar, and we have installed a 50 kilowatt capacity project at the office building itself. This is another site. Just I'm giving you certain idea about certain projects which we have done in Chandigarh. These are certain sites. This is one bus station where the rooftop has been potentially used to the maximum possible area. There are certain portion which you can probably see that this is not this cannot be used because of the obvious reason of that it is not free from shade. So it has to be free from the tree shade or any kind of shade, so that we can have maximum generation. In fact, in Chandigarh, there is I'll say another good initiative, and that is there is a cap on minimum generation. So these projects are through certain companies, and in a year, 1 kilowatt must produce 1300 units. So if the production is less than 1300 units, the concerned party or the vendor or the firm will be penalized. And this is the reason that they are forced to maintain their plant in very religiously. They have to maintain it. And there are many cases where we have penalized. So this is the reason that we are able to ensure a minimum of 1300 unit to 1 kilowatt project. So here you can probably calculate for 200 unit, for 200 kilowatt, how much unit every year we are generating. And then data which I showed in the previous slides, that was derived from these factors only. So this is another site. There is also one beautiful experiment which has been done at Dhanas Lake. Here the idea is to raise awareness among general public. So this is basically a floating solar fountain. So in one fine morning, you will see this is at one corner, while the other morning you'll find that the entire project is shifted to some other corner. So this floats on itself. There is no human intervention in this entire project. So it starts with dawn and stops with the dusk. So so this is one I'll say unique project where there is no human intervention at all, and it's a fountain which also attracts a lot of people. So so we are trying to create awareness among public that how solar panel is important. And this has also, there was another reason for this, that this lake used to have some smell, and because of solar fountain the aeration has gone up, and because of the aeration the smell have gradually gone down. We have also sent the sample to the pollution department for the BOD and COD of water, and where the reports have come up that the level has gone down. So this is one initiative that was done largely to raise awareness. We have replicated this model in certain other part of the forest areas in Chandigarh also. So this is another optimum use of the available rooftop. So this is a parking area in Sector 32 hospital, where the entire parking area was potentially used to convert solar into solar energy. In fact, similar this kind of project we are also coming up with in certain other pockets of Chandigarh, where we are going to use all possible rooftop which are of not major use. So the designs are made in such a way that it can meet the additional requirement of maybe the parking or the other uses. At the same time, it should generate the solar as per the desired capacity. So there are certain other initiatives which have taken. We are also coming up with the model of capital capex model, that's called capital expenditure model, where the people are also taken on board, and the work order has already been issued, where the people can put their money. We have also come up with another option called RESCO mode, where there are certain companies, renewable energy companies, they'll come into the picture, and on mutual benefit sharing, they will be installing the solar project. So this I was discussing about. There is a clause of minimum electricity generation for each project, and all these projects which we are having in Chandigarh are grid connected. That means we are able to save the additional expenditure of solar batteries are the repository systems. It's a grid connected system, so obviously the cost has gone down. And if I can recall the initial days of CREST, when it was started, initial cost was around, for 1 kilowatt it was 1,20,000. But after 4 or 5 years, the cost from 1,20,000 per kilowatt has gone down to around 40,000. So there is a continuous decrease in the cost per kilowatt, and this is because of the large scale production of solar panels, and of course the advancement in technology, and lot of competition, if I can say. So the prices have constantly gone down. At present in Chandigarh, for 1 kilowatt, the expenditure is around 41,000 rupees for 1 kilowatt. While there is a government subsidy also for these projects. For projects of size 1 to 3 kilowatt, there is subsidy of 40%. So the prices, you can probably calculate, has come to around 24,000 rupees. So that is much cheaper, and it is financially viable also. All these projects have got an average life of 25 years. Now imagine a situation where you are going to have a project of next 25 years at the cost which is probably around 25,000 rupees for 1 kilowatt. One average house having, I mean, if I can say, for around a family of 4 to 5 people, it requires around 3 kilowatt. So 3 kilowatt, that means approximately the entire expenditure is around 90,000 rupees, including the subsidy part. So, and subsidy part. There was calculation we have done, and the entire payback period is around 4 to 5 years. That is, at most in 5 years you can get back your entire money, but the project life is 25 years. So naturally, for next 20 years you are going to get free electricity. So that's the finance part, and we also saw that it has generated a lot of I mean, it's a clean energy where the environmental impacts are almost zero or minimal. So naturally, you by adopting to solar, you are going to save a lot of money, as well as you can act as a climate smart citizen. So when a project is installed, we ensure that it is monitored through a third party to take care of the any mishappening or any other factors. So standards and quality etc. are maintained, and every project has got inbuilt 10-year operation and maintenance. So a company who is the installer or the firm, they have to maintain it for 10 years, and after that, for the remaining 15 years, the entire maintenance lies with the concerned department or the person. So this is how it is. So we have also worked upon it, that since we are living in an era called digital era, or where e-governance is the basic motto of Government of India functioning. So we have started encouraging people not to come to the office. We have developed a portal called solarchandigarh.com, where a person can register their complaint, and they can see the progress of their project at each stage. Since it also involves the intervention from the electricity department. So we encourage people not to come to the office. Someone from our own office will contact them if we get a query and email. So we have reduced the physical visits, and their issues are taken care of through the phone call only. And building bylaws were amended. The idea is that every rooftop with certain dimension, they must have solar on their rooftop. So a lot of meetings we have held with Resident Welfare Association and other society and groups, and with ease in solar governance. And we have started with a single window system, where a person needs to simply log into the account, and then they put forward their application. And after visiting their portal, they can see where the application is lies. Their number of days at each official level has been fixed. That file or the case has to be cleared within this much time, and we are constantly monitoring into it, which has certainly led to the accelerated rate of solarization in Chandigarh. So we have also made the parallel processing. So at the same, one particular file is taken care in the solar department and electricity department at the same time, so that we can reduce the actual time of execution. We have also reduced the number of papers and other documents which are required, and these are minimum number of documents we are taken, so that the work can be executed in a time bound manner. So these are certain. Also, our objective is to cover every possible rooftop of UT Chandigarh, and there was a survey which was done by some agency where they have calculated the all possible potential of the city, and there are around over lakh such roofs are available, and we are aiming to target them gradually through RESCO mode or capital expenditure mode, and we are pretty hopeful that by 2025 almost every possible roof will have solar on their rooftop. So all the parking lots we have covered. We have covered some of them, and we to some of the remaining one we are in process of the DNITs, and the DBR has already been finalized, and we are working on them as well. We are also working on a tripartite agreement where, let's say, there is some person is there with roof but no finance. So we are going to have a tripartite system where the person, the bank, and the nodal agency, which is CREST, all three will work in coordination, so that the solar can be installed there on the rooftop with no finance or limited. With our agencies are having no budget. So that is the innovative scheme. In fact, just 3-4 days back, it was covered in the media also, that we have come up with this model where people are requested to appear through the panel, through the portal, that they are interested. You have to just show your interest, and there's a one-page form we have floated. So the public need to fill it, and if they submit, then the entire project will be installed by somebody else, where and at the end there will be benefit sharing model. The principle or the modalities has already been shared on the same portal, so the people who are interested, they can certainly participate, and solar will be installed by the government by taking certain forms into the system without their actual financial involvement. So that is the entire idea about it. So there are even people say that what are the bottlenecks? The answer is there is no bottleneck as such, as far as solarization is concerned. But yes, there are certain myths and rumors were there that solar projects are not so successful and they could lead to certain disease and all. So these are just rumor. There are no bottleneck. It is financially and as well as environmentally viable and much useful. So initial cost is obviously one issue. So because an average household requires around 80 to 90,000 rupees, so that may be a challenge. But now that challenge has already been taken care through tripartite arrangement or the RESCO mode, where companies are interested in installing solar at your rooftop by investing their money. But obviously, in lieu of that, they will be claiming certain benefit. So the cause of environment versus local finance. So that was the issue, but now we have taken care through involvement of bank. Awareness was certainly one reason, but in a place like Chandigarh, we are blessed that people are at a position where they can easily understand. So what's going on and what is the benefit, what is the loss, and this is the reason that we have very good response among the public, and a lot of solarization has already been done in Chandigarh, and so the awareness is not a problem at present point in time. So there are certain initiatives which we have taken with help of BMZ. This is a German-based company where they have helped us in developing a unique concept called photovoltaic thermal. Initially, we are talking about solar photovoltaic cells, but now we have moved on union of the solarization as well as thermal. So here we have done one experiment in Sector 16 hospital, where a panel can not will be producing not only solar but the heat also, because of the heat which it receives from sun rays. So the heat which are so because of the sun rays, the panel, the upper layer of the panel gets heated up, and that will be float. So there is an arrangement of flowing water over it. That water will be restored, where the temperature of up to 80 degrees centigrade can be maintained. The temperature, this hot water can be used for some other purpose. So with this, what has happened, that the temperature obviously of the panel gets down. With this, the efficiency has gone up. So we have done the data part where around 13 to 14% higher generation of solar has been reported. So with this, we are able to get the double benefit. The loss is that with this intervention, the price per unit per kilowatt has gone up. So obviously, the technology needs certain more modification in order to reduce the price. But obviously, with this has led to the double benefit of the same area of the same panel. And this model or RESCO which I was talking about is basically where a company will be installing solar on your rooftop if you are willing, but in lieu of that they will be claiming certain benefit. So the tariff, if I can assume something like 6 rupees per unit in Chandigarh, so you have to pay, the beneficiary has to pay almost half. The exact amount is 3.34 rupees. The remaining is because since you are offering your roof, the the other part, that is almost half of, will be shared by the company, and this arrangement will remain for 15 years. After 15 years, the entire project will be handed over to the roof owner. This is the new model where we are getting at present the application we have floated, and we have got so a lot of response, and this will be initially done for 12 megawatt impact capacity. So this scheme is also there. We have also done certain works on raised structure parking, which you saw in the previous slide. So this is also one initiative where without compromising the land utility, we are able to raise solar projects on them. And Saurabh Gupta sir also shared very beautifully about their initiative, which they have done in their state on certain canals. So using the similar technology, now we are going to do the same thing in Patiala Kirao, where a project of approximately 15 megawatt is going to be installed in times to come. So we are going to use some kind of anchorage or hinge at two banks, and we'll be installing solar over the beach canals. So that's the idea, that wherever there is a land available in Chandigarh, we are aiming to have solar on its top. So this is the objective. So our long-term objective is to become 100% renewable energy in times to come, and we have fixed our target for 2025. We hope that will become the 100% renewable energy based union territory or the state in our country. With this, thank you so much. So in case you have any question or modality or any confusion, because I was almost rushing through, so I'd love to answer them. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Dr. Abdul Qayyum, for such an engrossing and very informative presentation on the climate change as such, and with special reference to what the Chandigarh administration is doing in terms of solar power and how it is becoming a model city, and what are the various steps being undertaken and in the process. The questions, sir, we can take it later, because first of all, let us finish it off with the presentations. So now I request Dr. Neetaram Saibi, who joins us from Solan, Himachal Pradesh, and to share his very rich experience about forestry and climate change in the state of Himachal Pradesh. Plus, is very interesting the experiences while he was the Chief Executive Officer of the eco-tourism project in Shimla, Himachal Pradesh. So welcome, Dr. Saibi, and the stage is all yours now. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Professor Sir. I am grateful to you giving me this opportunity, and especially my colleagues, IFX officers. They are there. They have made a very good presentation, and all the present the people who are listening to this program. I'm really grateful to all of them. See, we have been talking a lot about the climate change, and there are sectors which do not refer that there is actually climate change or not, but there are ample evidences. I may just like to refer that in Himalayas, first thing is that the glaciers, they have receded from their places, and many of the glaciers are not at all found. So kilometers behind the glaciers have gone. And if you talk about really inner Himalayas, the moisture regime has reduced considerably. The studies have been, I have personally conducted many studies in this and published my papers on this, but the evidences are there that We have Pinus irradiana, Neusavica. It's a dry fruit. So if you look into this forest, the moisture regime has gone down considerable. So, and in other area also, we have the Deodar forest, many other areas. There are evidences, studies have been conducted by HFRI also, Himalayan Forest Research Institute, Shimla. They have also find it that there is a drastic change in the climate at the moment. And if you see the snow, we have seen that, that precipitation comes on the snow after its fall. That is also one thing that is also one evidence which has been taken into account. But one thing is recent study because of this pandemic. Study has been conducted. So many scientists in UK, they joined UK and USA, and they have joined and they have come out with this paper that with this during this pandemic, because of the release of say greenhouse gases that was restricted to some extent, and the presence of the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere has gone to minus 17%. So we have seen and gone through many stories that animals were on the roads, especially the barking deer and spotted deers. And in Himachal also we have seen monal, which is a very rare species, not found very openly. And it has been seen at many places openly. Field pigeon, we have seen they have come out, and that means they find the climate better for their habitation. So there are some, there, and recently we have gone through that in Ganga water, some fish has come which is found in a fresh water. So there are so many instances. We must admit at this stage there is a definitely climate change, and we have to look after it critically. But only thing is that where we are lacking, it's the public participation. We are just looking into the climate change, but public is not taking confidence before executing the works relating to the climate change. That is one thing. But in Himachal Pradesh, we have framed, I am instrumental behind it, making 2017 ecotourism policy. There was earlier 2005 policy, then it was revised, it became 2015 policy. Now we are having in hand 2017 policy. Difference between the earlier policies and the present policy was that the impact assessment of the climate was not there at all in the earlier policies. And secondly, the people participation was not there. In the present policy, we have taken care of keeping in with the climate change, what is happening around. That if we educate the people who are coming, because Himachal, especially the Dalhousie, Chamba, Dharamshala, Shimla, Kullu and Manali are the places where there is a lot of influx of the tourists in Himachal Pradesh. So this policy, keeping in view the influx of tourists, has been prepared, and basic motto is just to conserve the nature and conserve the environment, and simultaneously giving a boost to the local economy as well as the state exchequer. So in this, mainly there are many, main feature of the policy remains that the tourists will come, and usually people are sick of going to the big hotels. They want some nature to enjoy it, and they come with family, or different type of tourists come here. In fact, so they want to relax just for 2 days, 3 days, and they go back and store their memories into cameras, and they go on looking into it for say next 1 year. Then they will come back if they find the place suitable, and we call a repeat tourist. So we have here developed roughly 5 sites in Himachal Pradesh on the PPP mode. On the PPP mode, we have Amod, we have here Cheva, then Nature Camp Kasoli, then we have in Dalhousie, the Kalatop, right? So there are 6 projects by the Forest Department at the moment, which is in the pipeline, for which the bid has been got. The basic funda for executing these projects or the PPP mode is that we call the financial bid. Whosoever gives the higher rates, they are asked to execute the work only after the clearance of the FCA, because FCA is a forest clearance, and as usual the files are moved through the DFO, and it goes through state government to the central government, and ultimate decisive authority, the central government, who looks into the files and see whether it is climatically suitable and this and that. So many things they see at their level, then they decide and give the final clearance. And for clearance, the government, I mean the DFO concerned, and the person who has given the bid, they take part and they try to take the FC clearance. But what is in the pipeline at the moment, for which the state government has received the bid, that is the FC clearance is still awaited, and those projects which have been executed already, they are on a way, and probably on a way to seek the clearance at the moment. But the basic idea remains that the tourists come and they are given some exposure about the various, climate aspect, that how we can give a heart to the climate change by carbon sequestration and afforestation. And usually what is happening, the tourists, when they come, they come into the forest area, and without ecotourism earlier was tourism, probably, in fact we add the word broadly, we say tourism, it was in the unorganized sector. But this ecotourism has given direction to the nature loving tourists. They come, we have a nature guide also, they go with them, along with, they take them to the area where they can stay and see the panoramic view of the area, and get them acquainted with various flora, fauna, medicinal aromatic plants, and with the various natural things available in the area, like waterfall, water bodies, water reservoirs, and the forest. And we educate them about the various forestry concept, various aspects, and how the forest helps in reduction carbon content in the atmosphere. So, and simultaneously the public at large also get a benefit from it, because the public, they are growing the organic vegetables, and we have kiosk, some sort of huts near the ecotourism sites and the guest house, that they sell their produce, organic produce, and the tourists, they buy from them. And so simultaneously they have a look to the built-up heritage, natural heritage, and they educate them about the Himachal and Himachal culture. And the tourists really relish. Feedback is that they relish the Himachal dish, and they feel like to come back again, because there are so many reviews. And the people who really take these sites on the PPP mode, that we give 1 hectare area, and they take the site, they maintain it, and they show the movies on the environment, and they conduct many sort of seminars on the site just to educate. Yeah, because many of the group, they come as school students, they come. Now, because of the pandemic, there is a little heart has been given to these activities. But now let's see what happens with this. The things may move ahead, and but I'm just narrating what has been done in the past. The group of the people, they will come, and the students as well, they come, they get enlightened. And this is how the transmission of the ideas for about the environmental education and giving a heart, and you can say for the mitigation of the climate change, some efforts have been done through this ecotourism policy. So at a large, the public, which is at a large beneficial, they also take part. And after seeing the model, the ecotourism potential site which has been created, the local people, they are also developing their site on their private land, And they are also promoting, providing some sort of facilities to communities, the discerning tourists in the Himachal Pradesh. So the main crux of what I am saying is that the world over scenario remains the same. Whether we agree or not agree, climate change is definitely there. It has been seen and it has been proved through many studies carried out around. So we have to chalk out some strategy to involve the people. Unless until people of the area are involved, I don't think anything is possible for mitigation, for adaptation, whatever remains the policy. But in Himachal Pradesh, we have been getting a very good response through ecotourism and through many projects which are going on, like climate proofing. And there are many World Bank projects also around, which is on way. So we have seen good results, and I feel people participation is must for climate change. Whatever remains the policy and whatever steps you take, it will not be a successful story unless until they are involved into these what is going around. So that's all. I think I would like to say I'm open for any question if there is anything. So thank you very much
thank
for.
you, Dr. Sanjeev, for you talked about the public-private partnership in the eco projects, and how all stakeholders should come up on one platform to bring about because ultimately it is just monetization of the tourism part, and which I think Himachal and the part of Northeast have in abundance, and wherein the public is also made aware about what is nature, and rather linking directly to the Mother Earth, and knowing, and then it's a great learning for the kids also as such, knowing about the flora, fauna, knowing about the wildlife, and all such. And then it brings about, just like you have spiritual tourism, you have other tourism which is therein, you have the coastal tourism. So the hilly states like Himachal and all, they could, harness this potential. So thank you so much for this wonderful presentation. Many questions have been answered by the panelists while, the other panelists were talking about. I think there are certain questions which which one would like to ask. So the house is open now. So if you would like to ask any question directly to the panelists, I request the participants to go ahead with this. And sir, Saibi sir, there are one two questions about the ecotourism in Himachal Pradesh, which one of the participants had asked. So kindly, if you can go through the last, it's in the last only, or I can talk about that.
Could you please repeat?
Yeah, 1 moment.
So one question is, one participant has asked about the ban of polythene in Himachal because of tourism and all. No? So if you can throw some light on that.
Yeah.
Ban on polythene.
Polythenes.
Yes. Polythene. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there is a yes ban on the polythene, and some a forest department is also looking after us. There is a nodal officer has been appointed for that, and if anybody is selling that then they are taken to task. But polythene ban is a must, keeping a view that we have many polythene waste, and studies shows that they are giving an adverse effect to the climate. The people, especially the tourists, they used to come here, and I, as already said in my presentation, that it was in an unorganized sector. They will go anywhere in the forest, instead of following any route, they will go start, taking pictures, this and they used to come, and wherever they will just pitch a tent, stay there, and all the polythene wrappers, all waste they will throw there, dump there, ultimately with the wind, and with the some it gets scattered into the entire forest, and used to spoil our young vegetations. So it was not giving a boost to the forestry. So what is happening at the moment? And moreover, you see when the storm comes, the polythene, all bags, whatever vegetable you carry in the bag, they used to fly, and it was easy for people to carry. But now the people have adopted another means. There are other disposable things which can be recycled, that are in practice, and paper bag, that is also there. We are advocating to the people in Himachal. Now people have tuned up themselves and they have changed their lifestyle. Now they have understood, yes, climate is okay and we have to take care of it, and everybody is following, and there is complete when they are following, and there is no resentment. Earlier there was in the initial state, but it happens when you take off. It happens everywhere, but now people are quite accommodative. And tourists who comes here now through this ecotourism potential, as I told you, they are given a little exposure. And really, I'm telling you, they throw the, polythene or wrappers in a place where it is meant. And we have seen the people, when the feedbacks come, they are giving us the feedback that we are following at our place also while going back. So hangover remains for certain periods, no doubt. So
Okay.
it's
Yeah.
good. It's nicely being continued.
Dr. Saibi, there's another question from Mr. B.D. Sahotra. He says that why the Himachal Pradesh ecotourism has not come up the way it should have come up. That is one he asked. He says that what else is the government doing about this aspect, so that it is the potential is harnessed. And then just a sub corollary to it, he says that whatever good has been done in terms of ecotourism, the entire or the major portion of the benefits have been cornered by the rich people, and the poor or the needy or the have-nots have not been able to get what it should have been because of this project. Your take on this, Dr.
Yeah, true. See, the policy is very much clear that the local people are to be taken, into confidence before we execute any work. And whatever sites we are having, they are doing successfully. But problem lies with that it is a FCA clearance, which is a major issue at the moment. Government of India has, said that ecotourism is a non-forestry activities. But we at my time, I have written a number of letters to government of India and went there, and I told them it's not a non-forestry activity. It's debatable, in fact, at the moment, that we are inculcating the habits among the discerning tourists, among the local public, that we have to protect and conserve our nature. So protection and conservation of nature cannot be a ecotourism. Of course, when you are there, you are creating some facilities, just catering, making food available to the people who are coming there. So whenever you go, we have been going to the forest and we have been taking our packed food along with, and if we go there and sit there, it is not a non-forestry activity. And if some people are cooking a food for you, at a place which have been defined for you, it is not a non-forestry activity. So, I think this could be the one of the reasons. There can be many, but the policy is very clear. There is no hurdle in the policy, and at the policy in place is very good, eco-friendly, and it really promotes the involvement of the local people and provide employment to the youth in the village itself. As you said, we have a destination tourism, we have a village tourism, so we have a inbuilt culture sharing tourism, we have health tourism. So many things are there which are clubbed into the ecotourism, directly or indirectly. So I don't know at the moment, but policy is very clear. But what I could understand, maybe the FC clearance, which may be the one of the major causes.
I would like, Dr. Chaddha, I would like to just substantiate my point.
Please.
As IB has very clearly mentioned, basically ecotourism, we are not able to push it forward because of hurdles created by the Forest Conservation Act. My humble submission is that maybe some good sense prevails upon the policymakers, and we should not look at the forest implementation of Forest Conservation Act with the same specs everywhere. Like if we are talking about big construction of hotels in forest areas, that I agree is a non-forestry activity. But when we talk about communities being involved in doing ecotourism, like having huts, eco huts, tenting facilities, which are not having any permanent imprint on the landscape, these activities, I think, government of India should take out of the purview of Forest Conservation Act. Maybe some memorandum or some public pressure should be created for government of India to look to give this a fresh hearing. Thank you.
Okay, there's
Yes.
a question for.
Chaddha, I would like to comment on one question by Mr. Jeet Kumar Gupta.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you the same question. Yeah, please. Dr. Kim, please go ahead. Yeah, Dr. Kim, please go ahead. Gupta Sahab says that capital complex is a large consumer of energy. Please.
Yes, but the pertinent question I'll say that all cities have lost green cover. So in this particular context, I'd like to share the case of successful case of Chandigarh, where we have got a report from Forest Survey of India. They publish a biennial report called Indian State of Forest Report, where it is derived that Chandigarh forest cover, a green cover, green cover from 41%, it has gone up to 46%. So there is a substantial rise in both tree cover and forest cover. So we collectively call it green cover. So things are improving in certain patches of country also. But yes, in totality, he is right. The quality of forest and overall greenery has certainly, there are issues where we need to look into. And he has also shared a very beautiful statistic where he has written something like in India we have 29 trees per person. That's true, and I believe that for this the huge population we have is also one factor. Apart from, there are certain areas where we cannot have, technically we cannot have plantation. Maybe the desert area or the ice-capped mountains of Himachal and other hilly states. But yes, we should add something more to it. In Chandigarh, just add one more thing. We publish every year a document called Greening Chandigarh Action Plan, where all the agencies which are responsible for green, maybe engineering department or municipal corporation or the forest, they all collectively they commit a document and they take a pledge sort of, and we come out with a plan that by next year we are going to plant around 2.5 lakh trees in different patches. So all these things are available in public domain. A person who is interested can go and actually see whether the plantation has been actually done or not. And we also submit a report related to its percentage survival. So meaning thereby there is a substantial rise in green cover. So we have started documenting all this data since 2002. From 2002, at that point of time, green cover was around 25-26%. Now it has come to 46%. But yes, in times to come, we feel that we are almost out of the land. So we don't have much land available with us. So we believe that in times to come, we are going to face a serious problem of plantation in Chandigarh because land as such is not available. So that I wanted to say.
Jeet Gupta ji?
Yes, sir. Can I say a few words?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Please go ahead.
I think there a very nice presentation which gives the total insight of how we are behaving with environment and how we are treating with the environment. But I think we have to understand environment and development, they are antithesis to another. One is created by God, other is created by man. And the way we are growing, we are surely killing all the natural environment. But I think the role, where we have to understand the India context of India. It has only 2.4% land and 18% of the population. I think that remains one of the most critical issues, that land is not there. So always India will be under pressure so far as land is concerned. Secondly, we are treating land as a commodity, and we are selling it, purchasing it. Thirdly, there is no control on of urbanization. Anybody is able to put anywhere, the things, so that the entire state of Punjab, you can say, entire state of, I would say, country is getting urbanized without any kind of a system. But you look at the figures which are given by the Sustainable Development Goals. 70% of the total damage to the environment and ecology is done by the cities, because they are consuming energy and they are consuming resources. Till you don't make cities sustainable, there is no question of sustainability anywhere, because they are killing everything, they are destroying everything, and that's what the goal 11, which I think Dr. Chaddha has already talked about, that is one remains very critical. So therefore, I think there is a role of to what extent the city should be expanded. So therefore, the municipal limit, I think they need to be very well contained, that nothing should grow outside the municipal limit. Any kind of, you find all the university which are there around Chandigarh, they are in big areas and they are outside the city, How much traffic they have generated and what kind of, environment impact they have done, this nobody has studied, And they have, promoted all kind of urbanization. You have traffic going on, all the things. So, the question remains, you don't involve, till you don't involve the planning, the cities, the municipalities, I think we are in a very difficult situation. Let me also explain to you. There is a village in Piprana, the village in Rajasthan, there the one sarpanch took up that as a girl will be born, there are 111 trees will be planted. Can you believe, within last 15 years, 2.5 million trees have been put in that village, and that village is generating money for all the villages. Last 10 years, they have been able to generate 111 trees are planted for every girl which is born in that. Secondly, in the city of Singapore, the planning system is this, that whatever building you are constructing and whatever land you are eating away, the green, you have to compensate within the building. Either you do on the 10th floor or you do on the terrace floor, So Chandigarh was lucky for the reason that Chandigarh was the only city which had the one law, that's the tree preservation order. The day Chandigarh was, they had, there is no city which has a tree preservation order. It was the city right in 1950, 49, 50 when they came in, and they said all the trees which are existing, they are protected trees, Nobody can touch it, And that's what the system has gone on. I'm in the city for last 50 years. I came to do my architecture in 64. I've seen city growing, decaying, everything, But the city had the most beautiful concept, that was the periphery. Unfortunately, the periphery has been destroyed and it has been urbanized. But nevertheless, what Chandigarh administration has done, they also have urbanized the periphery, and they have declared all the villages, 114 square kilometers, they are urban villages. So there is no land, I think there is rural land. That's what we have to see. So ultimately, what I'm trying to understand, the context of ecology, environment, and preserving all this climate change will be impossible to achieve unless you synergize urban and rural development as integral part of it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Gupta ji, for your information and very incisive information on the entire show. Dr. Tiyum, would you like to just respond to what Gupta ji said?
Yeah, he said it very correctly that we have tree preservation order that was passed in 1952, and that is obviously a very important document which acts as guiding tool for us for giving felling permission. In fact, we say that felling a tree in Chandigarh is nearly impossible. I mean, you can probably believe that just for getting one permission, it goes through not less than 10 officers. So almost 4 or 5 in my department and 5, 6 in the other department, maybe municipal corporation or engineering department. Then it is ultimately the permission is given by the advisor, who is chief secretary rank officer. So obviously felling one tree is very, very difficult. And that's the reason that we have, I mean, I have never seen any violation as such in terms of failing EPC. So that's the reason that there is no failing. But at the same time, we are also ensuring that there should be enough number of plantation, which is around 2.5 lakh in a year, which is a pretty good number. So that's the reason that green cover is rising in Chandigarh.
Right. Thank you so much. And I think all of the questions have been answered, which came from the worthy participants who joined us today. So friends, just to sum it up, this topic is a little technical in the sense that, it has both the scientific aspects and others also. But all the three panelists have summed it up in a very layman's language, understanding what is greenhouses gases and how it is affecting the environment, and how the pollution, the air pollution is taking up, and what are the mitigation strategies and what are the adaptation strategies. And further, we have also discussed in very briefly about, whether this is a reality, climate change is a reality, or whether it's a hoax, and coming out with evidence that the earth is one only. And even if, there could be lesser truth, but we have to care for the earth as such. Further, this also opened up a great debate in terms of which is going on throughout the world in terms of the economics on one hand side, or industrialization on one hand side, and the environment protection on the other hand side. But friends, just to say that how United Nations Sustainable Development Goals have come out to balance both the economic development on one hand side and the environment or ecology preservation on the other side. SDG goal number 13 very, very exclusively talks about climate action and gives out more than 10 points how the climate action could be, and how we can save the climate. And the other goals talk about the life on land also, life on water also, and plus it is linked to industrialization and other aspects. So these sustainable development goals overall, and I don't say that how much it will be implemented, because 15 years time period is therein, and the sub-Saharan countries and the developing world like the South Asian economies and all, they would like to go for industrialization first and to create that kind, because the developed world has already been developed and they have already created a lot of pollution and a lot of carbon footprints. Now they want the other countries to to put a cap on all these and even linking it to carbon credits and all, which because see, we have other problems like poverty also. The two things I mentioned initially, wherein Mr. Trump came about and the World Health Organization talked about the various diseases wherein 16 lakhs or more are being killed in India. The third thing was that which came last week only, that out of 102 countries, India ranks 94 on the World Hunger Index also. A country, and we like Saurav sir was talking about how Punjab is a food bowl, and very surprising to know that even Pakistan and Bangladesh and Sri Lanka fare better than us. We are very poorly ranked at 94 or so out of 107 countries in terms of hunger index. So when we have such problems, and I think we are representing a third world or the developing nations, the other countries will also be having similar problems. Other Africa and sub-Saharan Africa would be having more of such problems. So there's a big question mark on all these counts and all. I think what all the three panelists were very consensuous and very commonly talked about was that all stakeholders have to come on the board. And which UN has now also realized with the Paris Agreement and all, because it is not only the government bodies which can come out with all these, they can come out with a good policy. They can try to do a good implementation, but in a democratic setup, it is very difficult. Like we were talking about waste management, we were talking about sewerage management, and why it has not been done to the point where it should have been done is that all stakeholders are not involved in the process. Like Gupta ji was suggesting that the POSVAC should come out, and there is residential societies should be talked into to come up with cleaner, greener energies and all these. So till the time the public institutions, the government, the private institutions, the NGOs, the civil societies, they don't come out and into the open, and they all are on the board. Till that time, we will not have. We have to make this climate change, which seems to be a class movement. It has to be made a mass movement. Somehow you have to engage everybody. starting from the kids to the elderly to the women. Like somebody talked about, ecofeminism also, Dr. Rani. So they have to be brought about. Now, how can a common man do it? I asked also, but now what comes to my mind is that 70% of the population is by fossil fuels. And you said industry, transport, agriculture. So all these are. All right, friends. Good afternoon to all of you, and a very warm welcome to this 17th in the series webinar presented to you by IHRDI, which is International Human Resource Development Initiative, a not-for-profit initiative by like-minded friends to enhance and empower the human beings so that they can take up roles in various capacities worldwide. So friends, today's topic that we'll be speaking about and discussing
exceeded the time, it is restarted.
is housing for all, issues, challenges, and way forward. So friends, as you know,
Not to worry, we are slave to the technology. That's a fact.
now settled.
Yeah.
So thank God it was settled. So I think I was talking about how can a common man participate out here. So I think which we have been talking about also. Firstly, if it is not 4-5 kilometers, we can adopt walking, cycling. That is one, because it will. Chandigarh has the reputation, or I think the notoriety, that each household here has around 3 vehicles. And it is per capita wise, it is the highest in the entire country, 3 vehicles that we have here. So if we can use lesser of the. All right, friends, good afternoon to all of you, and a very warm welcome to this 17th in the series webinar presented to you by IHRDI, which is International. So if we can use, if we can prefer cycling, or if we can prefer walking, I think this will take care. Then, as Dr. Kium has also talked about the solar technologies and all this. Plus, I think the best that what we can do is, without getting into more, is afforestation. And as Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam has also talked about, that each one of us teach 10 and plant 10. If we can follow this diction that each one in our lifetime can plant 10 and maybe can teach 10, and then further if we can give blood 10 times in their lives, I think many problems will be solved as such, because then the LED usage at our household, and I've seen, I mean, in my personal household also, how the bill has come down with the LED usage. If we can use that, that is again the energy efficient part. Plus, if we can have the waste management done, the segregation of waste and all. So I think if general common person can do all these things, walking, cycling, then LED usage, then maybe the societies and all, they come up with solar plants as such. And then, planting of maybe 10 trees. Every birthday, we have 2-3 kids. So if even on their birthdays or our birthdays and anniversary, if we can plant 1 tree, I think this will solve the problem, which is not a very big deal as such. And if everybody can do it, so I think we would be able to do our bit and to reduce the carbon footprints and to increase the carbon credits to the society as such. So friends, thank you so much. I thank the 3 panelists, Mr. Saurabh Gupta, Dr. Abdul Qayyum, Dr. G.R. Saibi, who joined us today, and all the participants. It was a Sunday afternoon one, and then this was the Shara, the festival spirit is also there. Still, people are therein. I thank the IHRDI team, Sanya Chaddha, Mr. JPS Talwar. Incidentally, Talwarji is not here today. Dr. Muhammad Suleiman, Jeet Kumar Gupta ji, who joins us every time we have the webinars. Then, friends, one notice to you is that we have sent you the feedback forms, so kindly fill it up, and then we will send the e-certificates to those who want it. This is one. Secondly, the recording will be available on our channel IHRDI. So friends, I will request you to go on this channel, to subscribe it, to share it, and there are 8-9 presentations already there. And so I think because this is to give credence and credibility to the channel, and what wonderful work is being done there, and a lot of information is being done. So So I request you to subscribe to that aspect also. And you can those who have joined today, you can send a ping on my WhatsApp number 8727857116, and I'll be sending you the recordings of this. So friends, once again, thanks to all of you, and wish you a very, very happy Dashera. Enjoy the day with your family. Goodbye, sayonara. Thank you.